comes the sun, here comes the sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Sun, 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 here it Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. But here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Hello and welcome to the Sustainable Living Show here on WMNF Tampa 88.5 FM, where every Monday at 11 we bring you a conversation with local experts on sustainable issues. Today we are talking with Dan Durica and Mark Mazziotti, and we are talking about natural building techniques and outdoor ovens. Irene is taking your calls and awesome volunteers working those boards. Your host today is myself, Tanya Vidovic, and Miss Annie Ellis.
Hi, y'all.
And I think Annie has a couple events to tell you about.
Yeah, we have the Green Thumb Festival coming up. That will be April 26th through the 27th. And that's at 9 a.m. to 4 at Walter Fuller Park. And that is in St. Petersburg at 7891 26th Avenue North. And they have more than 120 garden, plant and flower vendors and exhibitors. And the annual event brings the community together for a weekend of fun. It is tremendous, y'all. If you are interested in plants at all, you should definitely go to that. We also have a really cool thing coming up. It's you can go to the Tampa Theater, the beautiful Tampa Theater, downtown Tampa on 707 North Franklin Street. On Tuesday, April the 22nd, which is Earth Day, the doors will open at 6:30 and the show starts at 7:30, and the showing is no cost. And what the show is Yes of America United and the Fulbrighters with Disabilities. And it's a free community screening of this new documentary by Jason Strother, plus a post-show audience discussion with the director. You should definitely try to make that. And then we also have 12 Hours for Earth. April the 21st on Earth Day, and it's for raising funds for local garden projects and eco projects in Tampa Bay area. And that's, again, the 12 hours, so it's from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. So this showcase is going to include members of the sustainability sector, urban agriculture, permaculture, science, music, commerce, and the arts. It ought to be really interesting. And there's going to be produce vendors, live painting, pop-up art gallery, late night silent disco, seasonal cuisine, and more throughout the entire day. And it will be at the Crowbar, and that is at 1812 North 17th Street, Tampa, Florida. So you guys have plenty to do, and get out there and get busy. It's beautiful weather, and it's time to get involved. And today, I would like to invite you guys to join our guest today, which is Dan Durica and Mark Mazziotti. And I'd like to tell everybody a little bit about them. Dan is a board member, bookkeeper, and organizer of the workshop series at Sweetwater Organic Farm, which is in Tampa. If you guys have not been there, it's a wonderful place. He's lived at Dancing Rabbit Echo Village in Missouri for 18 years, and that's where they do a lot of natural building. Dan has built his own straw bale home that incorporates cob, lime, and earthen plasters. And he also has 30 years of involvement in cooperative businesses, communities, 45 years of gardening, horticulture, and farming experience. So Mark Mazziotti, he is a designer, builder, and homesteader at Red Earth Farms Community Land Trust in Missouri. He has 20 years of experience in natural building techniques and mass ovens and heaters. He's learned these techniques from masters all over the world. He's just made his third pilgrimage to the stove building Mecca, which I looked this up, the annual Masonry Heater Association gathering in North Carolina. And it's a super cool event. It's pretty massive, too. And I just want to let y'all know that the reason why I really wanted to have them on is they built the pizza oven in these techniques at Sweetwater Organic Farm, and it's quite a fabulous thing. Thank you for being here, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thanks. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. There's something I was really interested in about you guys and how this all sort of evolved. And I wondered, was there a moment that you knew that building in a sustainable way was your passion and that was going to be the direction you were leaded into? And both of y'all can answer that question.
You want to go ahead, Mark?
Okay. Yeah, there definitely was for me. I was a graphic designer in San Francisco, working in front of a computer for like getting on 20 years, and didn't own a home, and I just decided that wasn't good enough, and I wanted to own a home and build my own home. So I started looking for what's the best way to build a house, and bumped into natural building in that search, and just decided that would solve both my problems, getting out from in front of a computer and also building myself a quality house.
Do you still live in that house, Mark?
Yeah. I've built a number of straw bale houses and other natural building houses, and I live in a straw bale house.
Oh, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I know that you do as well, Dan, but what was the moment in time that happened for you?
I guess it was probably the Renewable Energy Fair in Wisconsin that happens every year. I assume it's still going on, but like many years ago, I went to that and they had a demonstration of straw bale building. And that kind of got the natural building idea into my head, because obviously I ended up there because I was already interested in renewable energy. But I learned a little bit there. And then when I eventually was looking into living in an intentional community, I looked at Dancing Rabbit, and all the buildings here, most of the buildings are built using natural building methods. So I thought this could be the place where I go and I build my own straw bale house.
Oh, so Dancing Rabbit has been there longer than you.
Oh, yeah. Dancing Rabbit started in 1997, and I moved here about 10 years after it had been established.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought, well, interesting. Very interesting. And so since we would be talking about the outdoor cookery, what was the first style of outdoor cookery you started with?
For me?
Yeah, for Dan.
Okay, sorry. Outdoor cookery? I don't know. I mean, people here, I have a kitchen inside my house. I have like an outdoor kitchen in my mudroom, but I don't actually have an outdoor cooking setup, but other people here at Dancing Rabbit had built cob ovens and would have like pizza nights, and so I participated in those, and yeah, and then I was familiar with Mark's work as well, doing workshops and building cob ovens.
Yeah, I'd like to let everybody know that you're listening to the Sustainable Living Show, broadcasting live from WMNF Tampa. Our guests today are Dan Durica and Mark Mazziotti. We are talking about natural building techniques and outdoor ovens. If you have a question for Dan or Mark, give us a call at 813-239-9663, text us at 813-433-0885, or send us an email at dj@wmnf.org, and we will read it on the air.
So, Mark, you are you do a lot of workshops showing people how to build outdoor pizza ovens. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say a lot, but yes, I do occasionally do that.
And so how did you get involved in the Sweetwater pizza oven building?
Well, that was through Dan, because he had a relationship with that community, and my community, Red Earth Farms, is right adjacent to Dancing Rabbit, so we're in the same social community here, and he invited me to do that one.
To help. So how many pizza ovens have you built?
Probably 10 or 15.
I mean, that's a lot. So if
It's a lot of pizza.
I would like to know, so the people our listeners who are interested in building their own pizza oven, can you maybe walk us through the process of building a pizza oven?
Yeah. So yeah, it's first I would say buy a book.
Okay, well, for the people who are not buying a book, and they're just listening and they want to know what it would take, what is the first step? Let's start with location.
Yeah, it's a pretty accessible DIY project. Anyone could really do it. And location, wherever you want to have a pizza party, really, in your yard or something. You have to. It's a really good project to learn about building in general, because it has all the elements of house building involved: foundation, wall system, roof, insulation. So it has all the characteristics of a house in just a micro project. Yeah, you got to build a foundation, get it up off the ground. I would suggest building a roof over it first, because that is something that is often neglected, and that will half-life your pizza oven.
Why is a roof important for an outdoor pizza oven?
Because in the style that you're going to do it in a DIY basis, it's going to need to be protected from rain, because you'll have just an earthen plaster or a lime plaster at best on it, and water is not good in a pizza oven.
That makes sense. So the water will break down. Is that correct? If you're not protecting it?
It'll eventually find its way in and start to disintegrate your oven. Yeah.
And so you have your roof structure, and when you say a foundation, is it the same sort of foundation that you would use for a house, or is there a different type of foundation that you're going to be using?
The most common way is to pour a cement pad to start off, but you don't necessarily need to do that. You could tamp some gravel and level the earth and do it in a different way than that. So yeah, it is essentially the same as a house, but a lot simpler.
Okay. And so after let's say you have your foundation poured, you are using, the poured cement. What's the next step involved? Like, what materials are you looking for?
Dan, you want to jump in? Or
yeah, I mean, well, specifically for the cob oven we built at Sweetwater, if viewer or listeners want to see that specific project, they can go to my YouTube channel called Hardcore Sustainable and look for the video on this cob oven. But for the foundation of this oven, we actually just dug a shallow hole and then filled it in with gravel, which is super easy to do. You don't have to mess with concrete at all. And then we used what's called urbanite, which is salvaged, like reclaimed concrete chunks. And so we got those from various sources, and then we sort of used like a mortar to build up the foundation, a round foundation on that gravel foundation. So the actual sort of pedestal of below the oven itself was risen up maybe like 3 feet or so, so that the oven could be at, at the height to be able to use it easily. So yeah, it doesn't, like for Florida, you don't need much of a foundation. Like in Missouri here, you dig it deeper because we have frost heaving, because we get cold, freezing temperatures over the winter, and it can shift the ground underneath the oven. So in Florida, you don't have to worry about that at all. So the foundation is really easy.
And so you say this is the pedestal below the oven. Mm-hmm. So you're building up these urbanite, those concrete chunks, and making those stable. And then you're getting, so now it's waist high. Now mm-hmm. what? What is the processes of making the actual oven that you're going to cook in? Are there like, mm-hmm. yeah, tell me the specifics.
There's a lot to it. The first thing that we did, we sort of built a level surface with the cob, and cob is just a mixture of sand, clay, and straw. And so the straw adds structure, the sand is kind of like bricks, and the clay is like the mortar. And so we sourced all those things locally. So that's the great thing about earthen building, is that you can use local materials to build. And so we built this sort of level platform. And then I believe we built like kind of a rim around that, around the edge, and cob. And then we filled that with bottles. So the bottles are like an insulator. And then we filled
glass
that in.
Bottles?
Yeah, just glass, like glass beer bottles. Yep. So we were kind of reclaiming those. And so we had a layer, just like a single layer of the glass bottles. And then we filled in between them with perlite insulation. That's another insulator. So we're building this insulation underneath the oven to keep the heat from being lost into the foundation or into the pedestal that it's built on. And then put cob over that as well. And correct me if I'm wrong with my memory of any of this, Mark, because you're much more experienced at building the ovens. Does that sound accurate?
So far, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mark's your official fact checker. And you're listening to the Sustainable Living Show, broadcasting live from the studios of WMNF Tampa 88.5 FM. Our guests today are Dan Durica and Mark Mazziotti, and we are talking about how to build your own outdoor pizza oven. If you have a question, give us a call. 813-239-9663. Text us at 813-433-0885, or send me an email, dj@wmnf.org, and I'll read it on the air.
So guys, I had looked up this information, so I actually watched the whole video, which was super good. And I wanted to let people know that the way that they can look it up is it's called Building a Swanky Backyard Pizza Oven in 4 days, although it took a little bit more than 4 days. And that, of course, is on Hardcore Sustainable YouTube, which y'all have a ton of stuff on that. I have a question, Mark. You said that you had to, not had to, but you needed to build a roof over the oven because of the clay, how it would break down with water. Well, I was curious, like if that breaks down with water, which obviously you can tell that it would, how do you deal with it making a house out of it? Do you put something on the outside that keeps it from breaking down? And can you do that to the oven?
Yeah, A roof.
So just the roof, it doesn't deteriorate from the sides as it comes up to the roof?
Yeah. A roof is with big overhangs is your best first defense.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
then a lime plaster, which is less vulnerable to water, driving rain, so forth, is your second tier.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. If you did the lime coating over the outside, why wouldn't you do that to the pizza oven as well?
Yeah, you can do that, and I would recommend it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, great. So that's a different one that I didn't realize about. One of the things that I really also noticed about you guys on when you are prepping the product, you put it on a tarp and you stomp on it. So that's your mixing technique?
Yeah, that's how to make a cob, which is a cob pizza oven is the simplest way you can do this. And like Dan said, cob is clay that you dig out from below the subsoil just about anywhere except Florida, really. And sand and straw, and you mix those things on a tarp and turn them over and stomp them together, and you got like a building material, basically like concrete, except it has to stay dry.
That's incredible. So you say besides Florida, with the clay being in the substrate like that, so you guys are gathering these materials for a building in Florida. Where does the clay come from?
We did actually get we got the clay for this project from Plant City. John Butts, on his farm, he has, if you go inland in Florida and you dig down a little bit, you'll probably hit clay. And actually what we found in Florida was this amazing white clay, which we have sort of like an orange clay, which is nice in itself, but like the white clay allowed us to make just this beautiful looking earthen plaster or finish coat on the oven that we just can't get here. So there are a lot of areas in Florida where if you dig down through the sand, you'll hit clay before too long. But usually it's not around the coasts. There's a lot deeper sand on the coasts.
So he has a lot of water on the land there. So I guess that's where you really look for any place that has like creek beds or stream beds or things like that. That's probably a good digging area. Would that be correct?
I'm not sure if it's particular to stream beds. I know you can find clay maybe a little easier in stream beds, but often, like here in Missouri, if you dig down 10 inches, you hit pure clay. So it just depends on where you are and what your subsoil is.
Yeah. So you have to do a little research to be able to locate it locally.
Yeah, at John's farm, his neighbor had done some kind of project, and they dug down into the ground, and so they just had these piles of white clay sitting on the surface.
Wow.
And so he got permission for us to just go in there and fill up a bunch of buckets with this white clay, and that's what we used. So it was actually kind of a byproduct.
That's wonderful. So
and this guy Sir Cobb-a-Lot, who you can find him on Instagram, he goes all over the world and builds all kinds of cob stuff. And he came and saw the oven that we'd built, and he's like, "Where did you get this clay? I want some of this clay because it's so beautiful." And so he ended up getting directed to John's property as well. But I don't recommend going and bugging John about that because he kind of got annoyed by Sir Cobb-a-Lot. Tracking him down. So
that's funny. Yeah, I guess you'd have to do a little bit more research to be able to find it. When I was looking at the video, I noticed that when you were doing the foundation, it looked like you used pavers and things like that. Is that correct? Can people use paving stones or patio stones from a place that you get it from?
Yeah, you can use for the foundation there, you can use anything you want. It's just like sometimes getting reclaimed stuff like that. We had some pavers come in and do a bunch of paving, like laying a path for like people with disabilities, like accessible pathway at Sweetwater, and and they had all these extra pavers, so they're just like, hey, we'll donate this to the project, and so we used some urbanite and some of those pavers, and we just kind of like slapped it all together. We didn't end up actually kind of making a finish on the outside of the pedestal, the foundation. So it would be ideal to like put some kind of finish on that because it doesn't look that pretty the way it is, but it's nice in that we reclaimed so much waste material in making it.
Yeah, that's really great that you were able to reuse all the things that you had there. One of the things that I was wondering about, though, is like, do you have to base it with actual fire bricks, or is there, your own cob product? Is that enough to generate and hold the heat?
I think she means line it.
Yeah, line the base of the oven.
Yeah, the hearth of the cooking surface in the oven should ideally be refractory brick or fire brick.
Okay.
But you can use regular brick. It just red bricks. Solid red bricks. You can do that, and for the absolute cheapest. Maybe we should just dispel for your listeners like how easy this actually can be, because there's a whole spectrum of quality of pizza ovens, but you can have a pizza oven really quickly just by using the clay under your feet. In a lot of places in Florida also, I was just joking about that. You can always find clay and sand and straw and a few bricks, and you've got a pizza oven ready to go. And you just create a brick surface, build yourself a dome out of sand. That's going to be your form for the shape of your oven, and then take your clay, sand, and straw mixture and form a 2 to 4 inch dome over it just by throwing the clay on there and packing it on, and then cut a door out of it, pull the sand out, and you've got a pizza oven.
Wow.
It's like that simple. So that's the basic crude model, and then there's a lot of it gets into $20,000-$30,000 brick pizza ovens from there, but there's a whole spectrum of them. But anyone can get this going in their yard and have a brick hearth cooked pizza, which there's no better tasting thing than a wood-fired pizza on a brick hearth.
That's really an interesting point that you just made to me, or to all of us, is that we're talking about something that's a little bit more complicated, which is pretty fabulous actually, and it is doable. But you can simplify, and still have the product that you need in your own backyard, which is
very inexpensively too.
Yeah, good point. You're listening to the Sustainable Living Show, broadcasting live from WMNF Tampa. Our guests today are Dan Durica and Mark Mazziotti. We're talking about natural building techniques and outdoor ovens. If you have a question for Dan or Mark, please give us a call at 813-239-9663. Text us at 813-433-0885, or send us an email at dj@wmnf.org, and we will read it on the air.
Okay, so I feel like I missed a part. So you're like, build a dome structure, cut a door, pull the sand out. How do you get the dome structure? Like, are you building that? Like, is there a structural build, or are you just like building the dome out of sand and then covering that? Would you explain the process to the listeners? Mark.
Okay.
Expert.
I'm not that much more of an expert than Dan, but you build a sand dome. This is how we did it. The one we're talking about. You just build a sand dome like you're building a sand castle. You wet the sand a little bit so it sticks together, and then build a dome. And maybe a couple feet in diameter, and however big you want to make your oven, and then you slap the mud on it.
Can I interrupt you real quick? In the other thing that you did, you put newspaper over it.
That's right. That's a step I missed.
Out the dome. When you pulled out the sand, you know where to stop, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it makes a good separation between the sand and the cob material, because then the cob will still be wet, kind of wet when you take the sand out, and then you can kind of peel out the newspaper, and then the cob won't have a bunch of sand stuck to it.
yeah. You don't want sand falling into your pizza, so
No.
you put wet newspaper over your sand dome, and then cover it with mud. Yeah.
Okay. And so that mud that you're talking about, that's that cob mixture of the clay, the sand, and the straw?
Yeah.
And then how long do you have to wait for that to dry before you cut a door?
Good question.
Dan?
I don't remember. I think it was like a few days, but like we sort of did it one weekend, and then I don't live near Sweetwater, so I think I came back maybe the next weekend, and we built this structure that was a lot more complicated than what we're explaining with this simple cob oven, because we put a dome of the cob mixture, and I don't think we put any straw in that was over the sand dome. So we put sand dome, newspaper, a cob mixture that didn't have straw in it, and then I think maybe on top of that we put a mixture of clay and perlite, and then we put on top of that ceramic insulative wool for an extra amount of insulation, and then on top of that we built a layer of cob, and then we put finished earthen plaster on top of that, a very thin layer of finished earthen plaster just to make it look nice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, there were many layers to this thing that we built. It's much more complicated. And then we had also the fire brick was the floor. So we put the refractory brick in as the floor of the oven. And then we actually Mark built the hearth of the oven. So the doorway was also lined with fire brick and built
And
with
so,
fire brick.
all right, so now you have a dome structure. You've removed the sand. The smoke has to get out somehow. So at what point do you add that like a small chimney? And where does the chimney go? Like, where do you put it on there?
So there's a lot of different ways. Just about any way you can think of. And the simplest is you don't put any chimney at all, and you light the fire, and the smoke comes out the door as the oven is heating. It just comes right out the door and out, and then you wait till it burns down until you got coals in there, clean off the hearth, and then cook your pizza. And then at that point, there's hardly to no smoke coming out. But so that's the simplest way. And then the next simplest way is to put a little chimney right behind the door. Cut a hole and put some stovepipe in or whatever, or build a brick chimney right behind the door entrance. So the smoke goes around the dome, comes toward the door, but then goes out the chimney and out, and it's not in your face.
And so how long, like, so now we have a chimney, we have a door, we have the dome. How long do you have to wait before you can actually start making fires in here and cooking pizza?
Not long. I mean, it's ideal to wait and let it dry, but we just she pointed out the Masonry Heaters Association where I just came from. We built two huge pizza ovens in the course of a couple days, and we had a pizza party on the third day. So and they were fired, high heat. So there was a lot more masonry involved in those and less cob, but you can it's ideal to light a small fire first. It's ideal to let it dry as long as you can first, but you don't have to really. You actually could cook pizza like pretty quickly.
And so I know you mentioned, we're starting to cook now. There's pizzas, the potential for pizza is here. And so maybe Dan, how do you like how do you know what temperature it is in the actual oven? Like is there a specific thermometer that you're sticking in there, or are you just kind of winging it?
Yeah, well, what I've used is like a laser thermometer. So this is something you can get for like $20 at the hardware store, and you just point it in there and you can see wherever the laser hits, it'll give you the temperature in different spots. But there's different ways to position, like you're going to have a fire in there and it's not going to take up the whole oven. I guess ours, depending on the size of the oven that you build, I mean, but when I fired the Sweetwater oven recently for a pizza event that we had there, I believe I first put the fire kind of at the back of the oven, got it going, and that sort of you're going to have different temperatures in different parts of the oven depending on where you put the fire, and that can be advantageous in some ways because you might want to bake certain things in certain parts of the oven. And another thing that you can do, like Greg Seymour, who was doing pizza baking last year in the Sweetwater oven and selling pizzas at the farmers market. He always keeps a little fire going even while he's baking the pizza. So initially fires it, heats it up, and actually I think he was taking our that cob oven up to much higher temperatures than it was really built to endure. So it did a little bit of damage to the oven, unfortunately. He was bringing it up over 1,000 degrees.
Oh my God.
And that's what he bakes his pizzas at in his brick oven that he used at his restaurant. And the cob oven, I don't think is really made for that high of a temperature, but like you might bring it up to like 800 or so at the most for baking pizza. Like when we did our event, I brought it up to like 550, 600. It's going to take a little bit longer to bake the pizza at that temperature, but it's fine. I'm not an expert pizzioli.
Not a
But
pizza connoisseur.
I mean, I haven't done it a lot, baked pizzas a lot in a cob oven, so I don't know nearly as much about it as Greg does. He knows what he's doing and he makes delicious pizza. But
He does.
but yeah, I think for this cob oven, they're not really made to be at super high temperatures like that. So we did get a little bit of cracking in the dome. But you're gonna have like you might have like bring it up to between 500 and 800 degrees, and then you keep a little fire going to maintain the temperature for a little bit longer. And the great thing about these cob ovens is they'll stay hot for days, for like days after if you have an insulating door. And so as the oven cools down, you can do different things in it. Like you could bake a casserole in there. You could, eventually when it cools down enough, you can dehydrate herbs or something in there. So you're kind of like, firing the oven can take a few hours or a couple hours. Like when I did it, it might have taken an hour and a half.
You mean to
What's that? Yeah, so like firing the oven is lighting the fire in it. And so it might take you an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to get it up to the temperature that you want to bake. So that's a little bit of a project there. It's not like you can just turn on an oven and in 15 minutes it'll be 500 degrees. So
And you mentioned that it got too high of a temperature, the dome cracked. Is that it? Is the oven ruined, or is there some like maintenance that you can do to help like to fix that?
Well, cob it's a little bit hard to access because it's hard to get up in there, but I did repair it somewhat. The great thing about cob is that it's like very malleable and you can just like slap more cob on top of it. We did do some kind of like initially when we built the oven after it dried, we treated it with some kind of, I don't know if it was like silica or something. What is that stuff? It's like a glass.
Sodium
basically.
silicate.
What's that?
Sodium silicate or water glass?
Yeah, water
Did we
glass.
put that on? I don't even know. Did we?
Yeah. So we did that, and that's supposed to protect it somewhat because when you put that on and then you bring the temperature up, it basically kind of creates a glass coating on the cob to prevent it from flaking and coming off.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I want to remind everybody that you're listening to the Sustainable Living Show, broadcasting live from the studios of WMNF Tampa. Our guest today is Dan Durica and Mark Mazziotti, and we are talking about how to build your own outdoor pizza oven. If you have a question, give us a call. 813-239-9663. Text us at 813-433-0885 or send us an email, dj@wmnf.org. We'll read it on the air.
So you guys, I noticed that when you were putting the cob on, you were poking your fingers in it and making divots. What was the reason for that? What does that do, please? Mark?
Just gives it a key in for the next layer that's going to go on, like if you're going to put plaster on it.
Oh, like a tooth for it
Yeah,
to go.
right. Mm-hmm. Just
okay.
rough it up a little bit.
Yeah. So you guys have learned these skills and improved them over time. And now, Mark, you're going to this marvelous place that you just came back from recently. Every time you go, are you learning more and better techniques to improve on what you're doing, or what's up?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, this place is just like Candyland for anybody who's interested in masonry, wood-fired stoves or ovens or pizza ovens. I mean, this is the absolute height of expertise, professionals there, and you actually get hands-on experience. I mean, these pizza ovens we built there just are just the absolute professional level. So you just learn all the tricks.
So that was called the Annual Masonry Heater Association in North Carolina.
Right, the Masonry Heaters Association gathering. They have it every year. Anyone can go. It's not that expensive. You get a week at a resort, sort of mountain top retreat resort called Wild Acres, and just a great crack, a great party, and a lot of experience.
That's wonderful. And then you're all around like-minded people, which is always a nice way to go.
Yeah, it's amazing, really.
So you're besides the pizza oven, you're building other type of heating. If you want to touch on that some, I think it would be a good idea.
Oh, masonry heaters, yeah, rocket stoves and masonry heaters, and these are just a whole stable of really high efficient wood burning utilities. Really, if you're going to heat your house with wood or cook in an oven with wood, there's smart ways to do it, and there's dumb ways to do it, and these are the smart ones.
Yeah, we want to go the smart way for sure. So both you guys, I guess Dan and or Mark, are there places or classes that you can go to learn how to build an oven or even learn how to build sustainable building?
Well, at Dancing Rabbit, we have natural building workshops organized. Usually we have one or two of them a season here in Missouri. So that's a great option. And, the skills are what we're doing here in Missouri is slightly different, but the great thing about natural building is that you can find your local materials and use similar things wherever you are.
Yeah, it kind of fits your area. We got a text from someone, and their question is, what is cob?
So, Mark, maybe you can give a basic recipe for cob.
Okay.
Like with proportions.
Probably would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. 1 part clay, whatever clay you have, you can find. Maybe 2 parts sand, 1 to 2 parts sand, and as much straw as you can get to integrate with it with your feet or a mixer, or and then you need some water, the correct amount of water.
Yeah. I noticed that when you were doing it, it was so reminded me of making pasta dough. You put the product around the sand and the clay and such, and then you made a well in the middle and poured the water in. and then started moving in the sides. So if anybody's ever made pasta, it looked exactly like that. Is that how you do that every time, Mark?
Yeah, that's the way to do it on a tarp with your feet, which is the funnest way to do it. Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
you asked me. First question was what was the thing that turned me on to natural building, and I could give you just even a more inspiring answer than to get out in front of a computer, which is the first time I felt made cob and felt the energy of clay in my hands. That actually really was the first moment when I knew that natural building was the thing for me. And this is a big deal. When you can dig the clay out from under your feet and make a material, a structural building material that you can use for any number of things: earthen floors, earthen plasters, structural walls, cob ovens, on and on. I mean, this is like an amazing thing that people, I recommend people experience, because it's free. It's very liberating, and you're free from ordering the concrete truck in a lot of occasions.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of sharing on and how to be involved in your own element, your own environment, and have when you're a part of your environment works with you, right? Instead of you just ordering all the materials from a place and having it dropped and then building it standardized. That's a beautiful thing that you've experienced. Dan, did you have anything like that happened for you in a moment of clarity?
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to get your feet and mixing plaster and mixing earthen material. I think also, like, kids like it a lot, and some adults are like kids too, and we like to get our feet into stuff and play with clay, and so that's enjoyable. And just like the Sustainable Living Show, like, the reason we're talking about this is because earthen materials are a great sustainable building material. Like, you can get them locally. They don't have embodied energy, largely, and like, concrete is one of the most harmful things for the planet for climate change. And if you can minimize your use of synthetic building materials and not be chopping down lots of trees, it's a great option. And then another thing is, like, eventually when your building is no longer useful, it can just go back into the earth, and it
Self-composting house.
Yeah, it's beautiful. we actually have a caller right now, so
welcome to the show, Tim from St. Pete.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Great, thanks.
Question. I used to live in the Great White North, and we used to have very, very well-maintained pellet and wood-burning stoves for keeping our house heated in some very, very harsh winters. But we also realized that the CO2 and the carbon we were putting off by burning wasn't good. So how is creating a oven that's burning combustibles good for the environment?
Dan, you want to take that?
Well, I mean, I guess in one way you're using renewable fuel. So, like, if you're using like a gas stove or something that's propane, that's fossil fuel. There is I've heard that in New York City, there's so many like brick oven pizza joints that, like, they're having to put limits on them because they're polluting the air so much, because when you're burning wood, it does pollute the air. And we have that issue here at Dancing Rabbit. So, I can't deny that you're burning fuel to heat up this oven. But part of the reason why we're doing this, we did this cob oven at Sweetwater, is that it's a community oven. Like, we recently had an event, and it was supposed to be a a pizza bake or a cob oven fire. And so this is the way traditionally people baked things in communities, that they had an oven for the whole community and they heated it up and everybody came and baked their stuff in the same oven, so everybody didn't have to have an oven in their home. So this is a great way of efficiently using fuel. If you can have a community cob oven like we have at Sweetwater, heat it up and then invite your neighbors to come and all use it. It's a great way to efficiently use fuel.
Great for the answer. There's
That was a great
15th Street farm over in St. Petersburg. I've talked to those guys, see if they're interested in building one, because they have a lot of events there.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Greg. And so that also brings up another point. So the materials that you're burning, is it primarily wood that you're burning? Is there a special type of wood that you should be burning or staying away from? And can you use coal? Because I see coal-fired pizza sometimes advertised.
I've never heard of the coal, but usually it's a kind of wood that you use, and like sort of high energy wood like oak is good to use. Stuff that you would burn in a like a like an oven that you
Like a
would
wood burning stove, as
wood
long as
burning
it's-
stove, yeah, exactly, that you would use to heat your house.
You
That's
want to
what I would
use
recommend.
you want to use dry wood in particular.
What will happen if you use wet wood?
Well, that's your previous caller, to his point. One of the best ways to burn wood if you're going to use it efficiently and with less particulate
No.
or toxic gases, to
Impact.
use properly seasoned wood. It's very important for wood burning utilities.
And that's for all. That's for outdoor stoves, indoor stoves.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, is there any general maintenance that you need to do on these stoves long term? Or any last bit of advice that you have for people? Because we're pretty much out of time.
Yeah. I'd like to say Kiko Denzer wrote a really good book, introductory book for building your own pizza oven. I sent the link in to one of y'all, and
Yeah, I have it.
his name's Kiko Denzer. It's called Building Your Own Pizza Oven or something like that. And I recommend that for anybody who wants to get into it and have a pizza oven in their yard. And then from there, the sky's the limit to how far you can go with these things.
Awesome. And what about you, Dan? Any last minute advice?
Not necessarily any advice, but like if you are a pizza baker and you want to bake pizzas at the Sweetwater Farmers Market, we've got that cob oven there, and we've also got brick oven that Greg has donated as well. So if you wanted to start your own little pizza business there, that would be a great place to start.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Mark and Dan, for coming on the
Yeah.
Sustainable Living Show. This was a lot of great information.
We really appreciate you showing up for us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
It was fun.
And thank you, Irene, for taking the calls, DT for working the boards, Grace Benke for our website updates. It does take a community to build a community. Make sure to tune in next Monday morning at 11 for the Sustainable Living Show, where we're going to be talking with Jennifer Sini from Tampa Bay Conservancy. And if you enjoy our show and you want to keep us on the air, please go to WMNF.org and use that donation button and direct your donation to the Sustainable Living Show. Follow our Facebook page, Sustainable Living WMNF, to stay in the loop. And you can also listen to our past shows just by going to listen on demand on WMNF.org as a podcast on your favorite provider. And I'm Tanya Vidovic.
And I am Annie Ellis. Stay tuned in to WMNF for the next hour to hear Community Speaks with Mobili. You don't want to miss a thing here, y'all. Please remember, sustainability is a delicate balance, but by working together, we can make a difference. And true change starts with that person you see in the mirror. We will hope to talk again with you next week. You are now listening to WMNF Tampa.